We'll get you those results at the end of this 3v3 match because we have 3 seconds to go for University of Washington versus PolyStar.
Start. Here we go.
Oh no.
Looks like PolyStar's hero turret just immediately went slack the second the game started.
That
might be for power draw though.
Maybe.
And that might very well be the reason because they just immediately died.
So the standard for UW immediately going to level 2 because of that. And this is going to be relatively short if they give early levels over to the UW standard.
Well, I think UW's going to do the same thing they always have done with their matches, make sure they're stress testing all their components, and going to probably secure their victory.
Look at this. Look at this, Matt. Because the power draw, UW has decided they're just going to ignore the sentry altogether. They've learned from UCSD's mistakes, and they dive straight into the base with 4 minutes and 15 seconds left to go. The base is already down to half health at 1,000 HP. This could be a 4-minute game. This could be a 3.5-minute game. Absolutely insane. And now, just for target practice, the standard's starting to take down the sentry, but the sentry is no longer a valid win condition. So obviously just doing this for practice. PolyStar struggling out here. The hero no longer moving without going over his power limit. That sentry, the standard trying though, getting involved in the mix.
Midfield, the red standard 3 was knocked out by one shot from that hero. Very clean aim by the UW hero pilot.
Stealth 27 would like to wish a happy St. Jean Day to all of the French-Canadian teams. So, hey, that's great.
Looks like UW is just going to be making sure that they're able to keep PolyStar backed into a corner. I really hope they're not shooting at the camera because it looks like they're shooting at the sentry.
They're trying to hit, I think they're limit testing, trying to see how far away they can shoot the sentry at level 3 robots.
Trying to make sure that for whenever the sentry is able to shoot back by some of the other teams, they're finding the beneficial spots on the field to be able to engage. UW going to knock that sentry offline, even though they already have gotten the win condition past that.
There it is.
Getting that extra practice in, not something atypical we've seen for UW, making sure all their systems work, testing out new strategies.
I think they could have gone for the 3-minute 30 game, but I believe that in typical UW fashion, they will maximize their practice time. They have gotten, I think, the most practice time out of any of the teams that we predict to be in the top 4. So interesting to see. Definitely a solid advantage that they'll have going into these quarterfinals with their drivers having a lot of stick time.
I think so far we've seen RoboGrinder once.
Yep.
We've seen
A&M 1.5 times.
1.5, yeah.
Yep.
And then we've also seen UCSD twice now as they're trying to get their things ironed out. NYU as well, we've seen, I think, 3 times.
I think we're going to hop right into the cockpit of some of these robots here. There we go. Check this out. This is how it feels to be the UW hero. Feels good, doesn't it?
Certainly would, as that base is just getting chunked out. 2 minutes left. Very easily claimable victory by UW.
485, 285. 2 more hero hits would take it out. 65 health remaining. That's far away. They're going to leave it at 65 health, of course.
Make sure they're testing everything else, trying to make sure they're getting some infantry practice on static targets.
I think they're trying to hit with the standard. They've missed with 3 volleys now. We'll see if they can get that dialed in.
Well, it'll only take 1 volley because it's at 65 HP.
Yep.
That's going to be...
There we go. They hit 1. There's another. This is a long shot that they're making there.
Well, that's that stress test that we've seen from UW pretty much the entire time they've been on the field. Looks like Red Standard 3 is actually trying to engage the sentry. We're going to see if that sentry actually detects Red Standard 3 and is able to lock on. It does not look like the sentry on UW is able to recognize
this is a change of pace. The UW sentry not finding the red robots. Maybe UW has a similar problem like we discussed earlier. Maybe UW can't see red.
Who knows? Might be a
not an encouraging thing to see from our University of Washington team as they get out of groups. We expected differently, even based on yesterday, although their sentry has been undergoing a lot of software patches. Originally, it was firing with both barrels when only one was locked on. Then they had one barrel firing on target and the other not firing. And now it looks like neither target is firing.
Oh, we'll see if they can get that fixed. That's going to be the base kill once again. UW never leaving the base undestroyed as they leave the first round of this match. And
someone that was in the chat yesterday and they haven't come back, bring them on back, because in 2 seconds and in 1 second, we've got UW versus PolyStar.
PolyStar needing to slack that turret for their hero once again to make sure that they are not going over that power limit and going to die and make that base vulnerable, at least for a few seconds, because we know UW is very capable of taking out any robot that stands in their way with either their robots, as they've had ample time to
both
practice.
of the robots leaving the base this time, having a bit of power troubles.
Probably just trying to make sure they don't overload. Ooh, and that's going to be the Sentry firing all the way into the reload zone. So they definitely did. And that's both barrels firing and locking onto that target, not locking in different areas. It looks like they got that fixed entirely.
That's what we expect to see. Great job from the University of Washington. We see some happy jumps coming from the far side of the field from their team as their Sentry continues and gets a kill all by itself from across the map. That's going to be really tough. With the Sentry having a clear view of the reload zone, you have to go there, I believe, to purchase ammunition at the beginning of the match.
That you do.
Teams are going to have to find an interesting strategy to be able to purchase ammo without dying to UW Sentry.
Looks like their Sentry is not moving along the rail, but that does not matter because they are still able to be an extremely formidable opponent. As wow, look at that lock. He has found his target, and that target has been eliminated, and he goes straight back to scanning for additional ones.
Wow,
that is a Sentry sight to behold.
Incredible. And, of course, the hero back at the base doing his work, ensuring that they will get the win. You really want to make sure that you are that you're not accidentally taking a loss here as a school like UW.
Wow, look at that Sentry go. You can probably
the standard now unloading at the Sentry of the University, of PolyStar, excuse me.
PolyStar being in the middle but losing control as both UW robots are waiting for the hero to come back online to just immediately kill it again. Oh, it looks like they're going to actually go and resupply ammo. They're not worried about any time to kill because they are really, really good at securing
UW reloading, and then they'll get back onto the field. 3 minutes left to go. We expect pretty much all 3 of those minutes to be used by the University of Washington.
That's going to be another kill coming across, I think, from the Sentry or the Standard. Could have been either one. 17 millimeter.
UW Standard has found this favorite spot of theirs. It's diagonally across the court from the Sentry. It allows them to deal a lot of damage while staying relatively safe and undetected by the opposite team. Although they did just shoot our camera, so minus 7,000 points, I believe, was the penalty there.
Well, whenever that Sentry is aligned in the perfect spot to be able to do
that.
Oh
my goodness.
Oh, and that's gonna
now they've done it on purpose.
Total VM.
Jared, let me dock them real points. Not only are they gaslighting the other teams, refusing to finish the match, but now they're firing at our cameras, misaligning the angles. Goodness. Next thing you know, they're going to be pulling gaff tape off the floor.
Looks like it's going to be a pretty clear victory for UW. Not really much PolyStar is going to be able to do, especially with the formidability of UW's just infantry robots in general, their ground superiority, and their base superiority with the Sentry, I think, being out of ammo. As it is,
they are literally now only aiming at the cameras. Here we go. Come on. Let's see if we can get them back on that base. There it is. Getting some base damage down. 725, 710, 690. That's a big volley. Especially for some of those math majors might be able to do some quick subtraction and division there. Oh, yeah. There we go. 130, divided by 5. It's not too bad.
I really enjoy looking at that UW HUD. As they just have such a clean design.
Hero rolls up, does some more damage, down to 240 health on that base. Excellent, excellent showing from the University of Washington.
You may not realize how important it is to know your chassis orientation when you're driving, but that's what that little yellow indicator is.
It lets you go through gaps much better, chat.
Yes.
When you're spinning, you don't want to go through the gap in your wide orientation because you don't have a good guess for how big your shoulders are. So if you know that you're locked out in your long ways, you can slip through the barrier a lot easier.
Plus, it just looks cool.
Yeah.
But it's extremely utilitarian, especially for being somebody that has driven a robot such as yourself. You know just the importance of knowing that orientation.
Yeah, especially as you move towards things like RMUC, where there's a lot more gaps you're trying to go through, people you're trying to avoid, robots you're trying to drive past. It becomes really important to know your bounding box size and be able to keep that in mind as you progress through the map.
Well, and you also do not get a mini-map unless you make one in the 7v7. You get no mini-map on the 3v3 because there is no radar station.
There it is.
That's going to be the base kill, typical of UW.
Yep.
Making sure they're using their time effectively to stress test all of their systems and ensure that everything's working right.